Today is October 23, 2025. On the vast, open ocean, a significant event just unfolded. A new test by the U.S. Navy could change how aircraft operate at sea forever. The Navy successfully tested a large air refueling drone launched from the deck of an aircraft carrier. This test represents a major leap forward in military technology. It demonstrates a novel capability to keep naval aircraft flying for much longer periods. This single development has the potential to fundamentally reshape the very nature of naval air power, extending its reach and extending its endurance. The test took place aboard an active aircraft carrier. These massive ships are floating cities and mobile air bases that project power across the globe. Carriers allow warplanes to launch and land far from friendly shores. However, every aircraft has a limitation. That limitation is fuel. Planes must eventually land to refuel, or they must return to a land-based tanker. This constant need for fuel restricts how long they can stay in the air and how far they can fly. A refueling drone changes this equation completely. It can meet other aircraft in the sky, transfer its fuel load to them, and the receiving plane can then resume its mission without interruption. The drone at the center of this historic test is a purpose-built machine. It is quite large, resembling a small, sleek tanker aircraft but without a cockpit for a human pilot. This is an unmanned aircraft system, or UAS, and its mission is entirely new. People often call such aircraft drones. What makes this test so groundbreaking is the drone's full integration with carrier operations. Drones have flown from land for many years, performing surveillance missions and conducting strike missions. But launching a large, fuel-laden drone from the dynamic, crowded deck of a moving aircraft carrier and recovering it is an entirely different and far more difficult challenge. The ship pitches and rolls with the waves, and the flight deck is a small, dangerous, and unforgiving environment. The main idea is clear. This test is a proof of concept for a new way of conducting naval aviation. By successfully demonstrating that an unmanned tanker can operate from a carrier, the Navy has opened a door to greater persistence and greater range. It signals a shift away from relying solely on manned aircraft for every role. This development could solve one of the longest-standing logistical problems in naval warfare: how to keep valuable assets in the fight for longer. The test is not just about a new piece of hardware. It is about a new strategic capability that could give commanders more flexibility and a decisive advantage in future conflicts. The world's navies are watching this development very closely. The aircraft carrier is the centerpiece of modern naval power. Think of it as a sovereign piece of territory that can move anywhere on the ocean. These ships, like the USS George H.W. Bush, which was involved in early testing, are immense vessels. They are over 1,000 feet long and displace more than 100,000 tons. Their flight decks are a chaotic but highly choreographed ballet of jets, helicopters, personnel. For decades, the process has been the same: land, refuel, rearm, launch. Now, introduce the drone into this complex environment. The Boeing MQ-25 Stingray is not a small quadcopter. It is a substantial aircraft, with a wingspan comparable to a fighter jet. Its primary role is not to fight but to support the fighters. It acts as a flying gas station. The vision is for the MQ-25 to launch, fly a pre-programmed route to a designated refueling area, and wait for fighters like the F/A-18 Super Hornet or the F-35C Lightning II to arrive. The drone extends a hose, transfers thousands of pounds of fuel, and enables those fighters to continue their mission. This partnership fundamentally changes carrier operations. The MQ-25 Stingray is the official designation for this new naval drone. It is the result of years of research and development. Designed for the carrier environment, its wings fold for compact storage. Its landing gear is reinforced to survive violent, controlled carrier landings. It is built rugged and reliable for salt spray, high winds, and corrosive air. Size matters. Reportedly over 15,000 pounds of fuel capacity to refuel multiple aircraft, or top off a single plane far from the carrier. A blend of efficiency and reduced radar signature with a standard turbofan for loiter endurance. Autonomy is critical, supervised by a human operator, but performing most functions itself: takeoff, navigation, and holding patterns. During refueling, it maintains precise speed and altitude, giving a stable platform and reducing workload. Software manages weather shifts and loss of communications. Strategic role: CUAS, a carrier unmanned air system adaptable for future ISR. Aerial refueling is one of the most demanding skills for a pilot. It involves flying in extremely close formation, often at high speeds and altitudes. Now, imagine one of those aircraft has no pilot on board. That is the MQ-25 Challenge. Equipped with a standard aerial refueling store, the drone deploys a long hose with a drogue, the hose and drogue method common in naval aviation. At the rendezvous, the drone flies straight and level, unspooling the hose as the fighter carefully moves forward and threads its probe into the drogue, like threading a needle in mid-air. Once sealed, fuel flows. Precision formation is maintained throughout the transfer. The drone provides a more stable, predictable target than a manned tanker, which can have minor human-induced oscillations. Test pilots reported refueling from the MQ-25 was remarkably stable, critical when crews are fatigued at mission end. After transfer, the fighter backs away, the probe disconnects, the hose retracts, and the drone proceeds to refuel another aircraft or returns to the carrier. Why does this matter so much? The answer is range. In modern naval strategy, range is everything. Project power, conduct surveillance, strike from greater distance, all confer a massive advantage. Long-range anti-ship missiles push carriers farther out to sea for safety. That distance can put targets out of reach for a carrier air wing. The MQ-25 acts as a mobile refueling point that extends the legs of combat jets. An FA-18 with MQ-25 support can add another 300 to 400 miles of range. This allows safer standoff operations while still holding distant targets at risk. Persistence grows too. Multiple refuels mean continuous surveillance and fewer aircraft to cover the same mission. Extended range and endurance. Aid, humanitarian response, and expand commanders' options. A true force multiplier, you know. One of the most compelling arguments for a refueling drone is cost and efficiency. A fighter is incredibly expensive. Using it for buddy tanking is a poor use of a valuable asset. Every tanker hour is fatigue life taken from combat roles, wearing out fleets faster. The MQ-25 is cheaper to operate and preserves fighter lifespans. Aerial refueling is risky, especially when pilots are exhausted. A drone does not get tired and remains predictably stable. Automating tanker orbits frees skilled aviators for strike, patrol, and air superiority. Support aircraft are high-priority targets. Sending an unmanned tanker reduces risk to human life while sustaining the mission. Putting the machine at risk to protect the human drives unmanned support adoption. The path to full integration is fraught with challenges. Carrier decks are small, crowded, dangerous, and always moving. Landing a large drone adds complexity and risk, controlled by an operator or software. A sea-based drone must be exceptionally robust and reliable. Failures at sea mean total loss. Failures on deck can endanger ship and crew. Hardware and software require layered redundancies and exhaustive testing. Secure communications, encryption, and jam-resistant tech are paramount to defeat jamming or hijack attempts. High autonomy must complete missions or return safely even if links are severed. New supply chains, deck handling procedures, operator syllabi, and pilot training must evolve across doctrine, culture, and practice. The successful test did not happen in a vacuum. It culminates a long history of innovation and over a decade of carrier-based drone work. The Navy explored unmanned carrier aircraft in the early 2000s with U-class. The X-47B proved autonomous launch and recovery were possible in 2013. In 2015 it demonstrated autonomous aerial refueling, then priorities shifted. U-class gave way to a carrier-based refueling program, awarding Boeing in 2018. The MQ-25 first flew in 2019, and in 2021 topped off an FA-18, a historic first. Integrated deck tests are the logical, crucial next step. All roads point to a hybrid air wing where manned and unmanned aircraft operate together. In summary, the recent MQ-25 Stingray test launched from an aircraft carrier is a landmark event. It is far more than a simple technical demonstration. It is a validation of a new and powerful concept for naval aviation. By proving a large unmanned drone can safely operate from a carrier and refuel aircraft, the Navy has unlocked enhanced reach, endurance, and lethality. Strategically, it allows carriers to operate from safer standoff ranges. It extends fighter combat radius, increases time on station, and improves air wing efficiency. It increases pilot safety and preserves the service life of expensive combat aircraft. It frees skilled aviators for the most demanding missions and points to a smarter, more sustainable air wing. The path forward is challenging. Technical, security, and logistical hurdles must be solved to make this routine and reliable. Change will not be instantaneous. Integration takes years of testing, training, and refinement, but the proof of concept is undeniable. The idea works.